Hello again, Mr. and Mrs. America. After a little break, just watching some news, seeing what's going on. I've had so many people, talk to me about what my thoughts were on this, 2016 election here, especially regarding the Republican field. Let me give you my interpretation of the Democrat field first. Hillary Clinton, she's a Democrat, man. I mean, this woman is, she's done. She belongs in jail, okay? And if a Republican did half of what she did, they'd be in jail. Ask Scooter Libby. Go ask General Petraeus. Granted, he didn't get jail, but he didn't do anything near what Schillery did, and he got in deep water. Scooter Libby went to jail, for not even anything related to the original crime. I mean, it was ridiculous. Bernie Sanders, really a frickin' socialist, a hardcore socialist. I mean, one step away from Putin. I mean, really? That's what the Democrats think is cool? Really? I'll have to do a whole new subject video on just that weirdo, Mr. Sanders, who has rape fantasies. This guy's, woo, he's out there. Anyway, let me get back to the Republican field. So many people have said, oh, this is such a great field. And I admit, probably most of them would be better than Barack Obama. But none of these people, I don't know. I don't want to say none of them. There's a few that I'm kind of keeping an eye on. But I got to tell you, the front runners, okay, let me get Donald Trump out of the way. I like much of what Donald Trump has done from the standpoint that he has gone in there and shed light on a number of issues that we would not be talking about right now. And let's face it, the elephant in the room is illegal immigration. And God bless that man for doing it, because that is the single largest issue ever. Right now, in front of us, bigger than ISIS, bigger than Benghazi, bigger than taxes, bigger, and I'll explain why. But here's the thing. I don't know if this is the real Donald Trump. I kind of hope it is, but the man has been on so many different sides of every issue, and I get it. He's a businessman, and sometimes you got to kiss the ring of someone you wouldn't want to kiss the ring. He has said beautiful things about Hillary Clinton and said beautiful things about Nancy Pelosi, and I don't know if he just did that, because he needs to get things done. I just don't know. I don't know that I fully trust a man that sells his soul like that. He has taken bankruptcies a number of times, so you got to kind of question his financial savvy. I don't know yet that I fully trust him, but I do 100% support the fact that he has gone out and says, I don't care what people say about me. I'm going to bring these issues to light. I'm going to expose them. I'm going to make people talk about them. So I'm at least glad to say I appreciate that he has taken that stance. He has been on the wrong side. He has been pro-choice. I mean, pro-abortion. I mean, this guy's been really off the reservation on that. Big time, gun control. I mean, he's had some real key issues that really trouble me. And, Chris Christie, Chris Christie, I got problems trusting a guy who, while I appreciate he has evolved on the issue, people say they evolved. I say they matured. I guess, but, I mean, that was the 90s, and you would think when a man is a man, he would have some concrete principles that he doesn't need to evolve on. I mean, Christie is an amnesty guy. He was pro-abortion. He, was in favor of gun control. I mean, he's taken some pretty crazy stances that are anti-conservative. But of course, he's evolved on the issues. But here's my problem with this whole evolution thing. While I'm glad he's finally evolved, would the real Chris Christie be able to tell me, yeah, I've stopped evolving, and this is really my principles now. I'm sorry, I kind of like a guy who's principled. Excuse me, when he gets into adulthood, I like a guy who's principled. Then, when he's an adult. Like, myself, 46 years old. Pretty much since I graduated high school, I've been pro-life with a few exceptions. Rape, rape, incest, and imminent harm to the mother. And I hate even saying imminent harm to the mother because that even leaves kind of a wide door. And I'm not even going to say I'm 100% right on that issue. When I have to look at my maker and say, here's what I believed, maybe I'm wrong. But I'm more right than leaving the type of abortion that we have now. Okay? I don't ever think I will move on that stance. Neither will I on illegal immigration. Neither will I on a person's right to self-defense. These are core principles. Chris Christie apparently didn't have them when he was an adult in the 90s and 2000s. I don't know, somewhere he developed, adulthood and came into these things. Apparently Donald Trump has matured or evolved on a lot. People are evolving on core issues. To me, you can evolve on your position on taxes, whether you like a flat tax or a fair tax or a graduated tax or whatever. Those are things you can kind of see, from different perspectives that may evolve over time. But core principles like pro-life and pro-self-defense and, things like that. Anyway, so now you know where I stand on Trump. So all you Trumpians, don't come bashing down my website here. Look, I love and I appreciate what he's doing. I just hope this is the real Donald Trump. He's been on too many different sides of too many different things. Okay? That's what I'm saying. Now, let me get on to the rest of these candidates. A couple of people I cannot stand, and I'm gonna lump four of them together right now. You're 4.5. I'm gonna give Carly Fiorina a half. Old Jeb Bush, Mr. Jebito, as Rush calls him. I'm gonna put him in here. When he said, immigration reform is an act of love, it was for him because his wife was an illegal alien. Her family came over here, I think, in the 70s illegally. So for him, it was an act of love because he's part of the problem. So anyway, old Jebito, you got Krispy Kreme donut. You got Marco, the Cabana Boy Rubio, and John White Toast Kasich, all right, who I am sick and tired of hearing about his dad being a milkman or whatever. And Carly Fiorina. And I like Carly. There's a lot to like about her. But damn it, why did she have to be in favor of the DREAM Act? And I'll get into that. And not to mention she buys into this whole myth of man-made global warming. So here's the thing. All those candidates, and probably some of the others, want a pathway to citizenship. Now, but that pathway is going to come second. First, we're going to build a wall, and we're going to put gun towers up there, and we're going to put alligators in the Rio Grande, and landmines, and drones, and we'll have the military with tanks, and just, yeah, we're gonna crank down on that border, and we're going to get all these people who have overstayed their visas from China and Iceland and Greenland and Poland and every other land around the country, and we're going to get them all. And yeah, we're gonna fix this. We're gonna secure that border, but then we have to have a pathway to citizenship. Yeah, see, here's the catch. See, this is their catch. They talk so tough on the border. But there's a couple things that they always leave out. And let me pick on the Cabana Boy, Marco Rubio, for a minute. When I say Marco Rubio, just think of all those people. Okay? Let's say you get a President Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio secures that border. Boy, he's a bad dude on that border. He cranks it down and he secures it. And then he does his amnesty. It's the right thing to do for those 15 million people who just violated our national sovereignty, came over here and drained sources away from the American citizen, who have committed, crimes. But we still have to, do what's right and have a pathway to citizenship. Okay? So here's where Mr. Cabana Boy and all his like-minded ilk totally blow the whole thing. And a Mr. and Mrs. American citizen, I want you to listen and get on these people. You need to be the ones to ask, because Megyn Kelly and Bill Hemmer and all these other Fox News lackeys, they're never going to ask these questions. Here's question number one. Whether it's Jeb Bush or Kasich or Christie or Rubio or Fiorina, you got to ask them this. Say you get a President Rubio, and he gets 2 terms, so he gets 8 years. And let's say he does secure that border, and he grants a pathway to citizenship, amnesty, to 15 million people, who also, by the way, will then be able to sponsor their other family members. It's called chain migration, and you'll have 50 million people. Currently, we have about 10% of Mexico's population already in the United States. Anyway, but let's say he secures that border and he gives amnesty. What happens? See, here's what he never talks about. Because this is where I'm going to tell you, he doesn't believe the line of crap he's feeding you. When Marco Rubio is no longer president, and you get someone like a Bernie Sanders or another Barack Hussein Obama, or someone like Hillary Clinton, or any of these limp-wristed Democrats, okay, what happens when they get in there? No more border security, yet you've just given amnesty to 15 million people who 3/4 of them will not vote for another Republican, who won't vote for a Republican anyway, ever. So all these policies you hear Marco Rubio talking about, that he's tough on, he wants to cut taxes and be fiscally sound, and he wants to reform all these social programs and be tough on terrorism and all this other stuff. Here's the problem. If he actually believes that stuff, how can you grant amnesty to a massive group of people who, for generations after you leave office, will never vote for the things you stood for? Anyone who supports, I'm going to say it right now, anyone who supports a Rubio, a Christie, a Jebito Bush, these types of people, John Kasich, you're a fool. And you're buying a damn lie. Ronald Reagan granted amnesty in 1986. He signed the Simpson-Mazzoli Act. Not only did it grant amnesty, it was supposed to secure the border. It was supposed to have worker verification. It was supposed to stop any more illegal immigration. You know what Ronald Reagan showed us? Even though I disagree with him granting amnesty, what he showed us is in 29 years, neither his last 2 years in office, George H.W. Bush, Slick Billy Clinton, Junior Shrub, a.k.a. George W. Bush, Barack Obama, none of those guys secured the border. And all those subsequent Congresses never held the executive accountable to secure the border. It's never been done. 29 years. So when they feed you this line of bullcrap about border security, it's a farce. They can't guarantee it. When they leave office, there's no guarantee. You won't get another Barack Obama. But you'll damn sure never get... The border security will go away, but the amnesty will stick. So now you're going to be stuck with Barack Obama-type policies, and the Democrats know it. So again, how can people like Marco Rubio and John Kasich and Krispy Kreme and Jebito Bush, how can they actually say that they're conservative, excuse me, knowing that their amnesty policies will lead to the demise of conservative rule for generations to come? Boom, I just gave you the Democrat playbook right there. That's why Democrats want it. So now, let's move on to this nonsense about you can't deport 11 million people, 12 million people, whatever it is. Oh, yes, you can. Look, it took 29 years. Okay? It took 29 years to get to where we're at now. Now, look, I understand some of these kids came here where they were little teeny tiny and mommy and daddy just drug them into the country and they had no say about it. But guess what? That's not the American citizen's problem. It's not the American citizen's fault. It's not our fault that someone overstayed their visa, their student visa, their work permit. It's not our fault. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts. You're gone. Okay? I don't care if you were 2 years old when you were brought here. You want to be mad? Be mad that your parents did this to you. They knew they came here illegally. Okay? Not only that, but their parents are human smugglers. They smuggled their children into the country. That's a felony. Okay? It's a misdemeanor to come into the country illegally. But when you smuggle human beings, even your own children, that's a felony. You evade law enforcement to do so. That, in most states, is still a felony. They've spent, a lot of years apparently evading law enforcement. That's continued crime breaking. How many people have gotten jobs or gotten social services that they weren't supposed to get? More crime. Most of them have committed crime. What did they say? 71% of illegals are getting some form of welfare. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts. As compared to 31% of American citizens. So 2 to 1, they're sucking off the system more than the American citizen. Great, huh? So, but to sit here and say that you can't deport 11 million people, yes, you can. You actually can. No one's saying that we're going to do like Bill Clinton and Janet Reno did and kick the door in with people in black masks and fully automatic weapons in full riot gear like they did with Elian Gonzalez. You remember those pictures? We're not saying that that's what we're going to do. But, there are cases where that should be done. And I think when you find those cases, I think it sets a precedent. 2, go after the employers. Speaking of employers, here's one of the... Let me back up to Donald Trump, and I hate to skip around. One of the things that bugs me about Donald Trump is, his stance on immigration, great, fine. But the hotel that he's building, I think it was the Washington Post did an article. His hotel that he's building just blocks from the White House has a good number of illegal workers working with the contractor. So you would think if Donald Trump was serious about what he says on immigration, he might give just 2 shakes to go down there and talk to the contractor building his hotel and say, that illegal thing's not going to work. But he's profiting off the backs of illegals. I mean, he loses. See, that's where Trump loses me. I mean, someone correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I appreciate him bringing the whole illegal immigration subject up because it needs to be talked about. But how can he sit there and say what he says but then profit off the backs of illegal labor? I mean, it confuses the crap out of me. Anyway, here's a couple other things. Deporting 11 million people. Look, when you take away what they came here for, when you dry up the social services, when you dry up the education, you take away the jobs. You go to these meatpacking plants or whatever, when they hire them, and you go in there and you do a raid, if they knowingly hired illegal aliens, okay, it's a substantial fine. Okay, if they keep it up, you start putting people in jail. Okay, you'll fix it. You make it a crime to be a sanctuary city. Period. I mean, I found it amazing. You got pot being sold in Colorado, and the executive branch doesn't care. You got sanctuary cities all over the place. You got that poor gal, Kate Steinle, that got murdered by an illegal up there in Seattle. People are murdered all the time by illegals in this country, and the executive branch does nothing. These people commit felonies and they get released. But you get a clerk who has a religious objection to issuing a gay marriage license, and they put her in jail. I mean, we can have, and that'll be a separate video here, but don't you see something wrong with that? You gotta, but you're right. Jeb Bush, Chris Krispy Kreme, Kasich, those people, no, they don't know. They can't deport 11 million people. They don't know how because they don't have the integrity to do that. Ask yourself a question. Ask these damn candidates one simple question. And it'd be interesting to see how these, conglomerate of losers can answer this. And here's the question. In the 29 years since Ronald Reagan granted amnesty, what has been the single largest failure on the part of the federal government that has led to the immigration debacle that we have now? If they can answer that question, you and I know the answer. If they can answer it, if they're honest enough and will answer it, then we know it needs to be fixed. It's not amnesty. It's not reforming immigration. It's enforcement. But, you know, I've gone on for 20 minutes. I could go on for another 20. I could go on for another 40 on this. Do not listen to these people. If they believe in a pathway, it is a pathway to doom. If you are a conservative, you're doomed. If you believe in a candidate that says he's going to secure the border, and because he won't tell you what happens when he's no longer president. You'll get another Bill Clinton. You'll get another George W. Bush. None of them enforced the damn border, and Congress didn't hold them accountable. So you have nobody to trust. I think there's maybe one or two candidates that might be trustworthy on the border. I don't know about Trump yet. I don't know. I don't know if this is the real Donald Trump. I'm just not sure. Scott Walker's vacillated on the border. He's kind of flip-flopped. Ted Cruz, I don't know. I even heard something that he's kind of changed his stance from a few years ago. So I don't know that we have a good immigration candidate. I don't think we have anyone that is serious about the border. I really don't. And if that's the case, I mean, we have to vote for the lesser of two evils and hold our nose. I mean, at least maybe we'll get 4 years or 8 years of border security, before, they just, kick the floodgates back open again. But, I hope this gives you some idea, and I know a lot of people think like I do, and they've been afraid to say it because they're called, what are you, racist? I am tired of that too, by the way. When someone calls you racist because you're, pro-legal immigration and you're anti-illegal immigration, and they're, what are you, racist? You need to ask these dumbasses. Well, you call me a racist. What race is illegal? Come on, tell me, what race is illegal? Because last time I checked, we have illegals here from South America and Central America and Mexico and Canada and China and France and Britain. We have people who are here illegally from across the globe, and that's not a race. Okay? So next time they call you a racist, I mean, first of all, they're stupid for using the word. They don't understand it because they think, ooh, if I just call a person a racist, then they'll back down. It's like, ooh, you racist bigot. I'm not a bigot. I'm not racist. I want the law applied equally to everybody. How does that make me a racist? I'm trying to put, this isn't about hating a group of people. This is about loving the American citizen. Loving our way of life. Why do we want, and let's face it, okay, people, I was going to stop this because I've gone on 23 minutes, but let's just face it. The biggest problem we have are people streaming across our southern border. Okay? That's just a simple, and I know we have a lot of people who come here on visas. I understand that. That needs to be dealt with equally as harshly. Frankly, I don't know why they can't find them. They filed paperwork to get here. I don't know why it's so freaking hard to find them and return them. But, this isn't about hating, a group of people. But, the largest portion do come across our southern border. And we have a lot of people of Middle Eastern descent that are sneaking across too. And there's a lot of unsavory types coming in from the Middle East. They're called terrorists. We found ISIS propaganda out in the desert. We don't need this. Okay? But, I'll cut this short here, but, I hope this gives you an idea of how serious this problem is. I don't know what we can do about it other than call Fox News. Let's question, one of the things I'd love to see, let's get a real conservative panel. Let's get Laura Ingraham, Rush Limbaugh, Andrew Wilkow, he's on XM Patriot, love that guy, and Mark Levin. Let's get those four people. They're kind of the conservative standard bearers, These are people that are the conservative icons. Let's let those four question the 16 Republican candidates who claim that they're conservative. Let conservatives probe these people's conservative credentials, and you'll see, because they won't hold their they won't pull their punches. They'll get to the bottom of what these candidates are made of. So I would urge you to call those folks. Call Laura Ingraham, call Rush, call Levin. Call the stations they work for. And see if we can get enough people together and do a debate. So that's just kind of my initial thoughts. I appreciate you watching. I know I'm long-winded on this, but together we can affect change. This illegal immigration, #1 top issue, period. So, folks, appreciate you watching, and I got more to come.